You're tuned into the Wade Borth Podcast, the place where clarity replaces confusion and real conversations open new doors for your financial life. Let's dive in and rethink what's possible.
Hello, welcome back to the Wade Borth Podcast. Today, I have an amazing individual, Rohit Punyani. So again, we had a lot of conversations, but I always like to stumble over the last name. So thank you for giving me a little bit of grace. Everybody calls him Ro. His friends call him Ro, and he's allowed me the grace to call him Ro as being one of his friends. So I really appreciate that. So Ro, I want to go back to your 4 points, and I want to reiterate those 4 points. Can you say them again? Because I have a couple of points I want to make on each of those.
Sure. We still have the open question of who does this work for, but point number one is huge deductions relative to the 401k, huge contribution amounts. Yeah. And just because I'm throwing out the 300k number doesn't mean you have to do that. You can do it at 60 grand. You can do it at 120, right? Our average pension in our business is 172,000. We 168, but it just moved up. So our typical pension that we do is someone's contributing 170,000 a year, give or take, right? Yeah. So the first is the size. The second is the opportunity to buy life insurance with pre-tax dollars. You talked about it, the will world, though, is going to happen. That guaranteed world, our other end of the spectrum, you can get that via a deduction. That is so delicious. The third difference is the con. It is I'm just going to go ahead and say 5-year commitment. It's a 5-year commitment to a pension. Do not start a pension for a 1-year tax deduction. Start a pension because you believe in pensions. It's a stupid statement, but start a pension because you believe in pensions, right? Yeah. And the fourth reason, as you said, to complete it, the fourth reason is there's opportunities to work the life insurance out and own it in your name instead of the name of the pension. So there's a cool exit. There's an elegant back end solution there.
Yeah. So there's an exit strategy when the time is right to pull those dollars out. Yeah. I'm going to go back to the point you just made, and sorry, I have a bit of a squirrel in me right now because I like so many things I want to touch on. But the idea of like this 5-year commitment, I can just imagine some people like, oh, yeah, there's the shoe that's going to drop. No. I think about your commitment you're making to your 401k plans or anything else. You've committed those dollars for a very long period of time as well, right? So, if you're 45 years old, you're really committing that to, for the next 15 years for the most part. So again,
absolutely.
Let's make sure that everybody's on an equal playing field. And again, this is not for that individual, like you said, that is like, I got a brand new business and I got a big, income 1 year. I mean, these are really for, I used to like to talk to business owners that had seasoned businesses, good cash flow, because again, there's a sense of stability and the tax issue is there. Let's address the tax issue and at the same time, we can be addressing the retirement issue because and I'm not saying it's never, because never is a very tough word to live up to. But for the most part, it's dealing with businesses that are seasoned, solid, and with good cash flow that they can say, because again, those are the ones that are writing, 6 and 7-figure tax bills. And if that's you, I mean, and maybe that leads into, who is the ideal candidate, but that's the business that this works for. And again, and you might trade off, you might say, I was going to make a purchase of equipment or a plant or something like that to help offset the taxes. But if you don't really need it, you're just making the purchase for the tax deduction itself. This might be a solution that you haven't thought about. So just be open to that idea. So
that's a great way to phrase it. Yeah, you can still choose your adventure with this. So who does it work for? There's 2 ways to have the who does it work for dialogue, and we're going to have both. One is the tax definition, and then like the human way to have it. So let's start with the tax definition, and then everyone's going to gloss over, and then we'll make it human again. The tax definition is self-employed income. Okay, what does that mean? It's like a meaningless phrase. You have active K1 from your own business. Okay, so an LLC spits off K1, right? You have active income from your own S-corp. Now, an S-corp spits off both W-2 and K1 income, but it's your self-employed. We can use that W-2. Active 1099 income, meaning I'm a consultant or I get paid as a 1099 by another organization. You can pensionize as a 1099. So like, if I at night was a 1099 house painter, I could use that 1099 income and pensionize and contribute to a pension. So that's the tax definition. The human definition is, stable businesses. This works great for 1099 physicians like locum tenens. It works great for small practices like ENT groups or outpatient surgical groups. This works well with small lawyer groups, legal groups, and just small businesses that are steady, that are relatively steady. No business is completely steady, but the human element is I got a good business. I'm doing really well, and now I need to manage my taxes. So what are the things to look for? Am I consistently writing checks to the IRS? Oh, I don't have to anymore because I can take that money and direct it to myself instead of to the IRS. If you have quarterly estimated payments as a business owner that are above 20 or 30 grand a quarter, you should be directing that money to your pension, not to the IRS. Why are you prepaying your taxes when you can fund a pension, when you can buy an asset? Those are the intuition I want business owners listening and friends listening to think about is, okay, I have some stability. I'm past that startup phase. I'm not at scale yet, but I have some stability. I'm writing checks to Uncle Sam instead of to myself. And for the foreseeable future, I'm going to write checks to Uncle Sam instead of to myself, whether it's at the end of the year or whether it's quarterly estimated. I don't want to do that anymore. You are in the sweet spot for this.
Oh, you bring up a couple. I'm furiously writing notes here because, like I said, I'm just like, oh, I want to make sure we get this part in. So I'll give you an example of, and you probably have some similar examples. I did a very similar plan to this where we had a doctor and he was doing a bunch of teaching and speaking. So he was part of a large hospital, so he had W-2 income, but he had also probably more, I know more, income from his speaking and from his outside teaching income because he was just an independent contractor. He's like, I really don't need that money. This is money that's just, it's flowing here and it's for a foreseeable future. I'm going to keep doing this as long as I'm healthy and can do this. And so that's what he identified as like, that's what I want to put into my pension. I want to take that money and I want to start redirecting it. And so maybe you got something similar to that. Does that make sense?
That's such a good point. So that's such a good point because you can be a traditional W-2 and have a side hustle and still do this. Sad reality, my son's elementary school is 3 blocks here, and you see Uber stickers for the teachers that are, because they're notoriously underpaid. It's absolutely heartbreaking because education is the silver bullet. And as you get more tenured as a teacher, you start to finally earn well. If you keep that side hustle or you have your tutoring on the side, hey, you can build a little baby pension for yourself. Yeah, there's no reason to pay more than your fair share in taxes. Don't pay less, but you don't need to pay more than your fair share. So, yeah, that's exactly right. But the sweet spot is small business owners, 50 employees or less, down to the single 1099. I mean, actually, I'd say just over half of our plans are solopreneurs.
It's interesting. And the other thing I think I hear people like concerned about a lot of times when it comes to retirement is like, man, I'm getting so old. I'm getting old. Is it too late? I mean, I'm almost want to give up. But with the cash balance plans, actually, the older you are, the better these things actually work from a scaling availability. Is that fair to say?
It's not only fair, that's the move. That's the GOAT move. This is why you're the OG, like I said, Wade. This is the move. So after you cross sort of age 52, 53 on the IRS tables, you can actually deduct more than your income on these tables. And so let's use your example of a physician who was moonlighting or teaching, getting that income. If that income was 100K, but they were making 400 as a physician, and he was 60-year-old with 100K of active side hustle or active K1 income could probably deduct about 250. So they could wipe their entire tax bill out. They would literally remove it. I have a client who has a W-2 and speaking engagements, right? He's a professor, not a doctor. We deducted so much from the side hustle that his W-2 income his W-2 tax bill started coming down as well.
Yeah.
So very powerful because the IRS's view of the world is if you took risk and you have a business, we're going to open this secondary retirement system up to you. There's the traditional retirement system, which is great. 401ks, IRAs, Roth conversions. That's available to any and all. Business owners occupy different sections of the tax code where the tax code says you took risk. You're paying for your own health care. You're paying for your own administration costs. You're not getting these subsidies from traditional corporate America. We're going to open up these other opportunities to make sure you end up ahead or further ahead, on par or ahead. And so that's how the tax code is written. The tax code is written for people who want to be the architect of their own financial destiny.
I love that division of architect of your own financial destiny. I think there's something really solid there to like, hey, let's be the director of your own movie, right? The same way we talk about it. You can start to build that. And now I'm going to talk we'll move on to a couple other subjects along the same lines. But, as I'm getting older, I have a practice. I have a small business, 50 or less. You said that's the sweet spot. Now, again, we're just from a tax deductibility and from a retirement standpoint. If I'm 55 years old, and maybe I'm an attorney. I'll pick on the attorneys today because it's just easy for people to understand that. Or I'm a small business owner where the majority of the people that work for me are 35, 40 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if I got 30 people in my office, in my practice, is it is it too cost prohibitive, or how do I understand that from, how do I incorporate the idea of these cash balance plans with a bunch of employees? Maybe help us understand that.
Sure. It's a really nuanced question. I'm going to try to keep it high level in English. So a cash balance plan, a pension, it is a cash balance plan. You're right. I just want to use words people know. A pension, everyone has to participate. So all 30 employees are going to be in there, provided they've worked for you for at least a year. But what's so interesting about these types of plans is you are allowed to, and in fact, it is recommended to put more in the name of the business owner and more in the name of the older folks to make the pension balanced, right? Because a 30-year-old still has 25 years, 35 years, 65, assuming retirement age of 65, they have 35 years to reach their goal, whereas a 55-year-old has 10 years to reach their goal. So the IRS and the administration companies that we work with follow those rules and say, yeah, you are allowed to put more towards the owners and the older folks, provided you give everybody an opportunity to participate here and they participate in the 401k. Okay, wait, that's a really cool point I made. I don't want to gloss over it. A pension and a 401k can coexist, and they should coexist, because let's go back to our 4% rule versus our 7%, our safety first rule. My view of the world is stay in the markets with your K and your profit share. Use the tax system to buy your safety first money.
So I'm going to I love that, because again, it's like they can work in conjunction. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I think, quite frankly, if we can find the synergy between the two, that's big. But again, if you're somebody that's older, has older, when I say older, I'm closer to 60 than I am 50. So I'll consider myself older in the business, right? So we're like, if I got a bunch of young studs that are like killing it in my business, I still want to reward them. I still love them, and they're key partners of my business. But I also have to say, how do I start taking advantage of the tools that are already there, been already approved, and to reduce my taxes? Because I'm, from a business owner standpoint, I'm obligated to pay the least amount of taxes. It's kind of the fiduciary conversation that I should have with my business, right?
Absolutely. Your employees, because no matter what, there's three huge points there. It was a simple statement, but I guess to my mind is very tangential too, right? So the first point is, anytime your employer is going to start a pension, you're better off as an employee. Whether you're getting a small amount or a big amount, you're better off, because it's money that the business is putting in your name without you shelling out a check. You as an employer shelling out the check for the 401k, guess what? In the pension world, the business is paying for you. So no matter how it shakes out, all of your employees are better off. So they are inherently altruistic. It is by itself, that move by the business owner is a fiduciary move to manage the business, its cash flow, to drop its taxes, and reward its employees. The second point you made was, I have a couple of young studs, I think was the phrase. A good leader, a good management team, a long-term thinking team. Again, your Nelson Nash book is up there. He talks about forestry. He talks about thinking in 70-year cycles. A good business owner is a long-term thinker, right? Well, you can use the cash balance, the pension structure, to reward and incentivize folks to stick around. The Department of Labor says you can choose either a 3-year cliff vest, meaning if you leave in 35 months, you get nothing, or a 6-year graduated vest. Those are the regulations. And so you can design this to really retain and attract talent, instead of just saying, I'm doing this because I'm the business owner. No, it's, I'm managing the business appropriately. Everybody's better off, and I'm keeping talent. That's what smart power users of the pension system do. They think of those three dimensions.
Absolutely. That's kind of where I was growing. I'm glad you picked that up, because that is, that's the sense of being a true leader, right? Leadership isn't just like me getting, through my tenure with this business, but like, how do I keep people here? And then also say, what's the incentive of them sticking around longer to maybe take this business over from me, or be the next set of leaders within our organization? Because again, it's easier to, for leaders to be grown out of your own organization than constantly going out and finding new talent. So one thing from an expense standpoint, again, I'm sorry if I'm just hopping all over the place here, but you made me think of a lot of different questions. This is not how I like to, is this very similar to the light bill you have to pay? So when it comes to the time that you have to write a check for your pension plan, you can be doing it a number of different ways, but it's a top line deduction. Is that not fair to say?
It's exactly what it is. Well said. So if your business earned $1 million, okay, and you decide to put $200,000 into a pension, the IRS says, we're not taxing you on $1 million. We're taxing you as if you earned $800. It is a top line deduction. So it's valuable from that perspective as well. And so, It's valuable because the first dialogue we had was you're buying an asset, not a liability. It's valuable because you're managing your tax expense. It's valuable because it can drop you down a marginal tax bracket. So there's the ways this transforms a company over time is really cool.
Yeah. So where I want to lead with that is like some people might say, oh, there's a cost, right? I imagine there's a small nominal fee associated with managing these type of plans. But, and I'll let you answer that, but then the follow-on question I have was the conversation I was having with a gentleman one time is like, I know you're bringing the three people in your office along here and you got to fund their plans. And as much as he loved his people, that was kind of the sticking point. I said, take a look at, because they were young people. I mean, really what he was putting in there wasn't, I mean, he was doing the 401k. He goes, well, they're getting the 401k. So that was the sticking point of the plan. I'm like, hey, this is a top line deduction. So in essence, you're giving them a benefit without having to pay FICA tax on that part of it, right? And so that savings was, in all reality, because it was his savings and the savings on those individuals, the savings was more than what he was putting into their plans.
That's exactly right. And if that's the sticking point, there's ways to continue to reward the business owner. But yeah, everyone's got to participate. I think a good business owner wants to retain people. And again, let's go back to the book, Above Your Left Shoulder. I mean, I've read it, I don't know how many, dozens upon dozens of times. He says, how do you attract people? He says, give them benefits, right? That's why the IRA system was created. Well, this is a benefit. So maybe you say, look, you're getting your bonus and a raise this year, but not the same amount of raise per se, because I'm guaranteeing a retirement for you. I'm actually going to buy your retirement on your behalf. So the 100% of the deduction always goes to the business owner. And in a typical plan, somewhere between 80 to 90% of the contribution can also go to the business owner. So they get 100% of the deduction and 80 to 90% of the capital. So it's generally structured that way. But look, I've worked on plans with company cultures that are so flat that it was 6 people and everyone got whatever that was, 17.75%. I mean, because they're like, we're a team, we sink, we swim, we move together, and you're allowed to do that as well. So yeah, there's some interesting points. You talked about the fees. Let's do that very quickly. Yeah. You pay a TPA, a third-party administrator, just like you do your 401k. A 401k by law has to have a third-party administrator. Oftentimes it's your payroll processor. ADP is huge in the space. Voya, Empower, the huge ones, right? Those are TPAs. You do the same thing here. The TPA fee is tax deductible as well. And it ranges anywhere from, depending on plan size and complexity, $1,500 to $3,000 a year. And it's 100% deductible.
Yeah. So in the big scheme of things, it's really peanuts. I mean, I know it's in people's minds, but in all reality, think about what you're getting from a tax deduction. Again, if you said your average deduction, your average plan contribution is $170,000. Real quick math on that, 35% on $170,000.
Yeah. Real money, 50, 60 G's you're saving people, and they're getting assets on the back end. And what we see is psychology is more important than math in dealing with people and dealing with life. And what we see is when you start a business, those first 3, 4, 5 years, I don't know anybody who's done it faster than that. Everyone's an overnight success after a decade, right? Right. So those first 3, 4, 5 years, you probably didn't even contribute to a 401k or even IRA because you were white knuckled in the trenches, eating glass, starting your company, right? The cool part about the pension system is it lets you catch up those 5 years. If you only thought about 401ks, you could do 23.5, whether you're earning 600 grand or 60 grand. If you pours your heart and soul into your business, and after 5 or 6 years, finally got traction, because that's usually what it takes. I mean, I want to be realistic about what entrepreneurship really is, right? Yeah. Okay, you get to year 5, now you got traction. You can do 200 or 300 grand a year, make up for all those 401k contributions you missed. It's a time machine as well. That's what's so fun about this is I talk to so many business owners. That's who we serve, right? They all say, yeah, my retirement account doesn't match my business success. I'm like, yeah, because you're 50, you didn't pay yourself for 6 years. But guess what? I can get you $2 million worth of deductions over the next 5 years. Literally $2 million less going to the IRS towards you for the reward for that crawling through the mud.
Yeah, and I think this addresses that question too that a lot of people have that we started the conversation with earlier, right? It's like, hey, I got a business. I know it's a part of my retirement, but I'm not sure exactly how it fits in. This is that part that fits in. Okay, let's start talking about how does your business now start buying your retirement? Right. That's the part that once you've been in it 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that's the part that it owes you as far as the owner. And you can say, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get a couple benefits. I'm going to get a guaranteed a pension plan. Again, I'm going to talk about this idea of the psychology of a pension plan, and you get the tax deduction along the way. So now, as your business become more and more successful, and taxes become a bigger issue, because now with more success, more income, more taxes, we can reduce that, and now it can start rewarding you for all that hard work, for, like you said, the eating class in the trenches, like now, and it can make it up, because again, at $28,000 a year for an executive that's pulling in $500,000 to $1 million or more, $28,000 just ain't gonna cut it.
Mathematically not possible. It's not possible to grow 23.5 in deductions plus the catch up. Yeah, it gets you closer to 30. Even if you go to 15%, the S&P's indicator 10, you go to 15. There's no way you're replacing your salary or your income level. Here's what's crazy, even on a pre-tax basis. Now we're moving to the IBC and the guarantee and the psychology part, but I don't want to jump the gun. I'm a guest on your show, but you build up a huge retirement corpus in your 401k. First of all, no one should ever feel badly about that. People in the insurance world tell you that's a huge problem. You do have a tax problem, but you still have a lot of wealth. So like enjoy it, right? But yeah, you're going to lose 40 to 50% pulling it out. Well, okay, if you have a policy on this side, you could, as you distribute it, your RMDs should touch your policy. You know better than anybody, Wade, a 20, 30-year season policy is going to release 300%, 400%. You've just recaptured your taxes. RMDs should touch a policy and then be consumed. RMDs should never be consumed immediately.
That's a really strong point. Can you just say that one more time again? I want people to hear this, because if you're listening to this and you're driving, maybe pull over, shut the radio off, or shut the noise off.
Okay.
Just be quiet. I want you to say that one more time again.
All right. We're already at a half hour, and you said we're stopping at a half hour, but I think we're getting going. We're just getting going, brother. I have spent my career studying both sides and trying to find commonality, not polarization in the two schools of thought. I love the 4% school of thought. I have a different take on that than the industry, by the way. And I love the 7% school of thought, the straight guaranteed income thought. One of the many areas that the rubber meets the road is, and this is my personal retirement plan as well, by the way, Wade, okay?
Yep.
I love infinite banking. I do it. I pay six-figure of premium now. I'm an IBCer, okay, through and through. I just found a way to get it with a discount. But why? What did I say about RMDs? The traditional RMD system is wonderful for accumulation. You get an A+ for accumulation. You get to buy the market, compound, and get a deduction on doing it. Do not step away from that system. Build in a trapdoor to your retirement plan. That trapdoor is whole life. A 20 or 30-year season policy will release 300%. So let's say you have $1 million in your 401k, and you're going to follow the 4% rule with that, okay? The 40K is going to come out. Oftentimes, the custodian of that 401k is going to withhold the money. Some custodians let you waive that right and pull the full 40K out. But now you're going to owe that 40K as if you went to get earned W-2 income. The government's going to take 18 or 20 of that 40K. Call it 18K. Okay, so now you're left spending 22 grand. Nobody can live off 22 grand, even though $1 million is objectively a lot of money. Take the 40K, put it into your seasoned life insurance policy that you started either in your pension or with Factum, right? With the tough money process and the liquidity scales with you that you, David, and Kyle were teaching me last month, right? It was just, I learned a ton from you guys. If you take that 40, put it into a policy, it's going to release 120. Go pay your 18K in taxes. You're still left with 120 minus 18. I have a net new $102,000 of capital
In your policy.
Whoa, that's the ball game. I just moved you from an $18,000 a year, $22,000 a year post-tax. I'm going to use really specific words here. This is going to get deep fast to collect my thoughts because I have like 6 ideas coalescing here. I'm going to try to move you from $22,000 of after-tax income to $102,000 of cash flow. The IRS views those two words, income and cash flow, completely differently. This isn't the difference between a dolphin and a porpoise. This is the difference between a transformer and a spaceship. Okay, these are two different ideas in the IRS parlance. We use them in everyday English interchangeably, and that is the heart of the roots of the dialogue of the two opposing camps. The IRS has at least 5 definitions of income: earned income, unearned income, provisional income, active income, passive income, right? Those are the 5. There's one definition of cash flow. There's money coming to you. Not all cash flow is taxable. Are dividends from a life insurance policy taxable? Nope.
For the most part, no.
Therefore, it's a cash flow. Yeah. That's it. We need to focus retirement planning on taking the two schools of thought, figuring out what ratio is right for that client, but making sure that 2 + 2 = 5. So I want to take the whole life I get from a pension or the whole life I buy from Factum, make sure it stays alive long enough for my RMDs to hit it. I want at least one policy that lasts forever. People love 10 pays, and no one's ever been unhappy buying a 10 pay, and I don't have a problem with them, right? But at least one policy that should last forever, because you should self-escrow your RMD taxes. You should self-escrow your real estate taxes in retirement. After inflation, the next biggest problem retirees face is they get taxed out of their homes.
Right.
Well, if you have a policy where you can self-escrow your real estate taxes, Social Security should be self-escrowed. You should take your Social Security check, put it into a policy, and then pull it back out. That's proper planning. Proper planning is taking income, Social Security taxes income, and turning it into guaranteed cash flow.
It's the business model, right? We should treat our personal finances as a business, and that's probably. I love where you're at, because you and I could geek out on this for a long period of time.
Yeah, we're going to be here for a bit. I think I'm flying to come see you for the next episode here.
For the technical side of it, we could geek out on, but I'm going to take it back up and say, how are we treating our personal finances as a business? All right, Ro, you and I could go on and on, but for the listener, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll just say, think about this. You're hearing this, you're probably going, that's me, I could benefit. Reach out to us. We'll put the Ro's contact information in there in the show notes. Again, we'll have mine there. We'll have those in the show notes. Reach out to us. We can definitely bring value to you if you have the pain of paying taxes, and again, fall into those areas of getting K1, 1099, or W2 from a S-corp. So, Ro, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time. Appreciate your knowledge and understanding this, and really love the fact that we're coming together, partnerships, or not a partnership, a collaboration, because again, that's how people grow, and that's how we can serve more and more people. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. I look forward to spending time together. Thank you.
You bet.
Grateful to have you tune in today. If you're ready to rethink your financial journey and take the next step, make sure to subscribe. Until next time, stay curious and stay in control.